You are listening to the Critical Mass Radio Show, Orange County's business talk show, focused on exploring topics of interest to CEOs who are leading middle market companies. With your host, Richard Franzi.
Hello and welcome to Orange County's longest running business talk show. I am your host, Rick Franzi, and I have a very good show planned for you. Why, do you ask? Because Steve Delson, who is the CEO, board member, and co-founder of Gate 5, is my guest for the next 20 minutes. Steve, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Rick, for this opportunity.
I'm excited to have you on the show. So let's start with your origin story. What was your original motivation or the inspiration to be one of the co-founders of Gate 5?
All right. Well, I spent most of my pre-Gate 5 career in the real estate industry, so I've had an appreciation for the importance of wastewater management. The industry has been basically provides important protection for public health and our environment, but the processes that are utilized today have been basically unchanged for 100 years. And reaching out to my co-founders, Lisa Himes and Richard Sherman, we sought to find a better way to do things and something that would be more sustainable, something that didn't depend on hauling waste long distances to spread on the ground with the associated pollution from the diesel traffic, and also to be able to eliminate methane, which is a harmful byproduct of the wastewater treatment process. It solves one problem with regard to the pathogens, but it creates another problem with regard to greenhouse gases.
So let me ask you, because I'm not sure a lot of people give much thought to what happens after they, let's say, flush the toilet. Can you give us a high-level layman's kind of understanding of where that goes?
Certainly. The majority, there's 8 billion people in the world, and only 2 billion of us have sanitation at all. There's 16,000 treatment plants in the U.S. and 75,000 plants worldwide. And the typical plant for a suburban area like we and probably most of your audience is in, wastewater flows into a treatment plant where it goes through some screening, and the solids and the liquids are separated and they go on separate treatment tracks. It's relatively efficient and straightforward to transform the water part of wastewater into water that's usable for landscape irrigation, or even with a little bit more treatment to become drinking water. Sewage sludge, which is the solids part of sewage, is a completely different matter. Typically, at a wastewater treatment plant, the solids go through a biological process wherein bacteria will consume the pathogens and to a level where the sewage is no longer a health hazard and can be spread on the ground. A couple of caveats with that, though, is that this material, once it comes through this digestion process with the biological process, it's only about 2 or 3% solids, and the rest of it again is water. So that material can be dewatered to about 20, increase the solids to about 20%. It's put on a truck and it's hauled off long distances for either to be spread on the ground or incorporated into compost. That material that's spread on the ground will continue to decompose into methane gas, and you also have all of the pollution from hauling the material. Those are two of the issues that Gate 5 was developed to resolve, because our process is a thermal process, not a biological process. So we eliminate over 99% of the methane that's created in the wastewater treatment process, and there's no transportation needed for the material because we dry it and we combust it on site. And in that combustion process, we do a better job, a more complete job of destroying contaminants and pharmaceuticals other harmful components of the waste that are not affected by the biological process.
So I want to have you explain again for the layman entrepreneur that's out there listening about your process and what makes it different. But before I get there, I just had a question. As you were describing the current status and status quo, is that a high energy process? I mean, you talk about transporting it and the methane after the fact, but the actual process of getting it to that point, does that require a lot of energy?
It does a lot of energy for moving the material around to a treatment plant, through a treatment plant. The diesel fuel that's required to haul a material away after it's been processed. And in the processing, there's a lot of aeration. There's a lot of oxygen that needs to be pumped into this material to stimulate the bacteria to do their job. So yes, energy is a critical and significant part of the process. Some of that energy can be offset by the product of the digestion process, which will create what's called a digester gas, which is a methane that can be combusted to produce a portion of the energy that the treatment plant needs, but not near all of it.
So we're going to talk in a minute here about your process that the Gate 5 has developed and how it's being tested. But before we get there, I have to ask you as an entrepreneur, you could have put your time and talents to a lot of areas. What is it about this issue that really got you going and decided to dedicate this chapter of your career to it?
Well, having completed a full career in real estate development, I looking around to find something where I could make a difference and make money. The existing process is very costly. The process we developed, has a capital cost and operating cost of about 50% of the way things are done today. So it seemed easy to improve the process, which it is on paper. It's easy, but after you have a process that's been developed and vetted and patented and protected, you still have to find customers who are willing to move forward with something new when what they're doing today is adequate.
Yeah, that's the technology adoption curve, and it's hard to get an industry that's got a workable solution, regardless of how inefficient or non-green it is, to change without a lot of focus and pressure. So let's talk about Gate 5. And again, keep it in a general sense, but help me to understand what's new, unique, patentable about what Gate 5 is offering.
Okay, our process is very simple and straightforward. What we do is the first step is the wastewater flows through a screen and the water goes in one direction and the solids are blocked. We take those solids out of the water to a point where the material is about 30 to 40% solids, and it goes through a thermal drying process where it's dried so the solids content is increased to about 90 to 95%. And at that point, it's biofuel. It has as much energy in it as coal, but it's not a fossil fuel. We then take this biofuel and we combust it at a very high temperature at 1700 degrees. A portion, about a third of the energy in this material is used for the drying process, and the other 2/3 of it can be used for thermal energy that can be either in the form of heat or electricity. That's our process. It occurs all on site at a treatment plant, so there's no need to transport waste hundreds of miles as is done today in the traditionally used components.
So you had mentioned two other co-founders with you. The idea of the system and how it works, was that the property? Was that brought to you by one of your other co-founders, or how did this team come up with this idea?
Well, I'm the engineering expert. So the process was innovated and developed into a patentable form by me and some of the other engineers that were working with Gate 5. Lisa Hines has her background in industry is related to managing her family office and helping oversee the investment of the Hines family money. And Richard Sherman is a business person who identified the technology and brought it to the two of us to see if it could be turned into a business.
So that's a great combination of the three founders then, it sounds like. Everybody brings something different to the table.
Complementary, very, very true.
Yeah. So, you talked earlier, Steve, about having a good idea with a clearly better process doesn't necessarily mean an industry overnight embraces it. So it takes every step towards the progress is important. So where are you on the ladder of acceptance for your process?
Okay, thank you. We are very far along. We're in the top of the ninth inning. We have developed a process that's been vetted by a lot of technical people. It's been endorsed by we put together a project and submitted it to the California Energy Commission for their consideration. Work that we did with project partners Santa Margarita Water District, Stanford University, and Micromedia Filtration. Energy Commission saw the wisdom in what we're doing and wanting to encourage more efficient, less energy intensive, and more sustainable wastewater treatment, awarded us about $1.6 million towards this first project that we're building at the Santa Margarita Water District. That's about a third of the money that we need. The rest of the money some of it has come from our prior investors, and the rest of it we're still seeking investment for.
And so when you have that secured, how long will it be until it's operational?
We've been moving concurrently. Our engineering drawings are to the water district now for their review and approval. We are expecting that we will break ground on the project hopefully within 30 days or soon thereafter.
Okay.
The project is going to be done in two halves. One half is going to be advanced wastewater treatment, and the second half is going to be energy positive solids management. But it all forms one project that's been christened by and approved by the California Energy Commission.
And so you have a willing partner in Santa Margarita Water District to allow you to conduct this test. They're going to get the benefit of the improvement in the process. What comes after that?
Well, commercialization. What we're doing is we're doing a small commercial-sized project at the Chiquita treatment plant managed by the Santa Margarita Water District. Our hope is that once they see how well the system works, that they will contract with us to convert the entire plant into a Gate 5 solution. And then we have had conversations with a number of other communities and agencies, and we feel we have a lot of interest in people who want to be the second one to adopt our system. And we're very grateful that Santa Margarita Water District Board and management is comfortable with us and our approach, and is leading the charge to undertake a new process that will change an industry, not just in the Santa Margarita Water District, but potentially worldwide.
So it always takes the early adopters who are willing to make that investment of time and resources to help you to scale. And then, the technology adoption curve is like this, and then all of a sudden there's that need to it, which is the significant growth and acceptance of the technology when you go mainstream, as it were. And I'm wondering, from your perspective, do you have a business vision forecast? How long do you think that's going to take? I don't want to ask you any unfair questions, Steve, but
we have developed a forecast that we feel is a relatively conservative forecast, very attainable, with a certain level of money. It's ironic. We get asked by a lot of people, say, "Gee, that's so much money you're asking for." Other people say that's not enough. So our forecast can scale in either direction depending upon the total of the capital resources. But yes, what we will be doing is we'll be building and selling treatment plants or Gate 5 infrastructure plants. We'll be building, owning, and operating plants, and we'll also be licensing our technology. The licensing will occur throughout the rest of the world and probably outside of the Western United States, because our talent and our reputation is here in the West, in California, Arizona, Oregon, on the West Coast. So that's where it's going to be the easiest for us to get started. After the ball gets rolling, we think that there'll be a lot more agencies willing to look at new technologies. So I think we're paving the way for not just for ourselves, but for others, businesses with new approaches.
Right, and as you know, the technology adoption curve to really hit the knee where it goes main market is people need to see others like them who have done this. So it's that credit thing, you got to get the ball rolling, and then you can point to a number of successful installations. It lowers the risk, and all of a sudden now you're at a accelerated growth rate, which is an exciting thing. You opened up by saying there's roughly 8 billion people in the world. Only 2 billion have sewage treatment, as it were.
Sanitation.
I'm sorry?
Sanitation, yes.
Okay. Does your product address the whole 8 billion, or is it focused on the 2 billion?
Well, actually both. The system is scalable, very scalable and modular, and part of the process is to utilize this, harvest the energy in the waste material, and turn it into electricity that can be used to run the system. So theoretically, we're at a very reasonable scale, we're energy positive, but at a smaller scale, we can cover the energy loads so that the system could be deployed in frontier areas and bring sanitation to places where it's truly needed.
Sure. I see your tagline behind you says infrastructure that fights climate change. And I've heard you talk several times about the carbon load of getting the material out into the field, and then the methane impact of the field, the stuff that's out there. I also would think that in some ways you're fighting climate change in those countries that don't have sanitation today that could benefit from a cleaner way of disposing of this.
Absolutely.
Okay. So let's turn our focus to you as an entrepreneur and a successful businessman over all these years. Is there a piece of business advice that you've received that you found really valuable, or maybe that you've developed organically that you could share with my audience today?
Yeah. Well, yes. At 74 years old, I've had a lot of exposure and some very good mentors. And one of my mentors was Jim Gillerin, who was president of the Mission Viejo company. And the one thing he hammered into everybody, and I got it right away, is that in a situation, if you're in trouble, if you have a problem with something, you need to share that problem right away with your colleagues and your superiors and your customers. And what that does is that brings them into, you guys are all on the same side trying to solve a problem. If you bring them in at the problem stage rather than when you have everything solved and have a bow on it, you'll get more people working on a solution, and you'll get a better solution, and you'll have credibility because you've been open and honest with regard to what you're facing. So that's the most important bit of business that I got. And the other one is to take enough time to write it, to make sure that anything you write can be put on one page rather than a whole long story.
Keep it simple. Yeah. All right. Well, let's wrap this up by looking at tomorrow. What's the future hold for Gate 5?
The future for Gate 5 is going to hold more opportunities in California and across the rest of the country, and partnering with people who can carry our technology to other nations where it's needed, and focus on on eliminating what Bill Gates refers to as the green premium, which means that renewable technology isn't going to make any sense until it costs less than conventional technology. And we feel that Gate 5 is taking steps in that direction.
So, Steve, if someone would like to connect with you on LinkedIn or learn more about Gate 5, where do you suggest they go online?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn as Steve Delson. Gate 5 is also on LinkedIn, and our website is gate5.com. And we actively monitor inquiries and interests that people may have, and would look forward to telling our story.
So if there's a potential investor out there that might be interested in learning more, that's someone you'd like to talk to?
That's somebody I'll
happily
be there as soon as possible.
All right. Well, let's hope that happens. I want to thank you for not only giving us time today on the show to talk about Gate 5, but the work that you're doing in this phase of your career to bring this solution to fruition in this marketplace. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Rick, and thank you very much for this opportunity to tell the Gate 5 story and to tell my story.
I'm happy to do it. And I also like to thank the audience for participating in Orange County's longest running business talk show. We've been on the air longer than any other podcast. Steve's episode is episode 1425 or so in our catalog. We have quite an extensive catalog of Orange County entrepreneurs who have told their story. If you're an Orange County entrepreneur and you'd like to tell your story, then contact me. I'm Rick, R-I-C, Franzi, F-R-A-N-Z-I. It's my LinkedIn name. If you want to visit my website, same thing, rickfranzi.com. Until our next show, I truly hope that all of your business decisions will move your company in a positive direction.